What's good, everybody? It's your boy Ferris Muthana, and welcome to another great edition of Good Friends, Better Rivals. Today, it's a little different, right? Today, I don't have my regular co-host Caleb. Caleb's actually moving to his new crib today, so he won't be joining us. His setup is not fully furnished, it's not fully ready, but I got somebody to take his place, and I can't replace my homie with someone not amazing, right? So I scoured the earth. I was like, I need to get the man. I scoured it, man. I went all over the place, and then I settled in the tri-state area, and I found him. I found the man I follow. I got mad respect for him. The grinder. It is none other than the incomparable, the amazing. We're gonna find out if he's a good friend or a better rival. My main man, Monte Cristo. Monty, how you doing, my man?
How we doing, dude? I'm doing all right. We're going to day 2 of the draft.
Yes, we are.
Have some opinions about yesterday, but I'm excited about moving forward with this and seeing what happens today.
Absolutely, man. So on the show, man, we're a Giants Cowboys podcast. We usually that's why good friends, better rivals, man. We're better rivals. We have a bunch of arguments to this day. I think the Cowboys need us more than we need them. But I digress. Just go to the two of the most watched football games ever in NFL history. You want to know what those are, Monty?
I bet you the Giants Cowboys.
No, it's not. It's
No?
Giants Cowboys Thanksgiving the year 2 years ago when they played on Thanksgiving, and Giants Niners in the 90s when we were 13-1 and they were like 14-0. And what's the common denominator in those two games, Monty?
Oh, wrong side.
The New York Football Giants. And I shit on my friend all the time because he said we could break those records. Yeah, you could, but you don't. You know why? Because you need us. We don't need you. That's all I gotta say. That's all I say. But it's gonna be predominantly more Giants podcast because my main man Caleb's not here. We'll probably talk about the Cowboys pick. They drafted Taylor Guyton. You probably got some more information about him. I think that probably means they're probably gonna kick Tyler Smith to guard, probably moving forward, and then Guyton's probably playing left tackle. But really, the big storyline coming out of it is first 12 picks, 6 quarterbacks.
Yep.
And the New York Giants did not draft one. We went with Malik Neighbors, some people's receiver 1, some people's receiver 2, some people's receiver 3, because some people like Rome Odunze. I'm not gonna disrespect the Rome Odunze crowd. Shout out to Rome Odunze. Big fan of Rome Odunze, even though he's a Washington Husky. Not a big fan of the school, but I digress. As a prospect, he's pretty good. So Monty, when it was unfolding, it's coming down. You see pick 1, you're like, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. They compared the guy to Prince. Of course, he's going number 1. And then number 2, you're like, could this be Drake, man? Could this be Jaden Daniels? And then with Jaden, you're like, yeah, of course. But then it really started. Yeah, we heard. And then it really started pick 3 early on. I want to get your information. Bill Belichick said something pretty interesting last week where he said, don't believe anything about the draft until 12 hours before the draft. He said that, and Bill Belichick, so I listened. And before the draft, a couple hours, it's a report that we're trying to trade for the third overall pick. Draft day comes, we don't get it. And I think you on Twitter pointed out that they only offered our first, next year's first, and this year's second for that pick.
Yeah, I've heard other things too. The one thing I know for sure.
What else have you heard? Yes.
I mean, the one thing Albert Breer posted today that he heard that it was this year's first and next year's first. There's some people say it was this year's next first and a third. Some people say this year next first and a second. But Breer said this year's first and next year's first. I don't know if there's anything added on to that, but to me, if that's true, I think that's a sad offer. But I don't know.
Why is it a sad offer in your opinion? Like, because it's 2 firsts and a second. Why would it be sad?
2 firsts and a second's better for sure. Yeah. But if it was just a first this year and a first next year, I mean, that's basically like bare minimum. You're coming up with a bare minimum of your offer. You give about a 20% markup when you're coming up for a quarterback. So that kind of lines about exactly what it is. But you're coming up for a quarterback of Drake May's caliber. And those quarterbacks are not traded very often. You don't see those picks become available. And to me, I look at this like, no, I didn't want to go this high. But I look at the last player I can think of come to this caliber, in my opinion. I mean, maybe people feel different. In my opinion, the last QB of this caliber who's been available for trade was RG3. And that from 6 to
Okay.
2, that was 3 firsts and a second. I didn't want to go that high, but I would have gone. The pick that I was putting out there was 2 firsts, 2 seconds. I felt that was enough to get it done, and maybe it wouldn't have. And that's what somebody responded to me today, that they don't think they're like, I don't think they would have even done for that. And what I responded was, I wish they tested that theory. I just wish I wish we heard that they tested that theory. And if they said no, feel a lot more comfortable. It is what it is. I don't know how this would have played out, and I'm happy I at least tried. But yeah, I don't.
It wasn't an aggressive
wish they
try.
went harder. I wish they went a little harder.
Yeah. So it wasn't an aggressive try by you. Yeah, I'm with you on that one, because at the end of the day, right, I always go to these, I was talking a couple weeks ago about RAS, like the RAS score, and it's just about people being athletic, and it doesn't correlate to success at all. So I'm like, oh yeah, so the draft's a crapshoot, like everyone says. Cool with me. And I go to let's say we trade 3 firsts, 2 seconds for Drake May, and we have our quarterback for the next 20 years. We don't care. We don't talk about those picks at all. I always go to the Julio Jones trade, right? With Atlanta. And they traded a bunch of stuff. People forget they traded a bunch of stuff. But here's what happened with Julio Jones and the Atlanta Falcons. He became one of the greatest receivers of all time. And the Atlanta Falcons were good with him most of his career. And the picks Cleveland drafted using them didn't pan out. And Atlanta won the trade. And you don't really care about the picks you give up if the player you get, like me, I don't care, man. I'm Les Snead, man. Man, screw them picks. Give anything. I don't care. I just find somebody. Because if you trust your draft evaluation like Les Snead does, you'll find somebody in the 4th round or the 5th round, like they usually do. And you're like, how did you find Puka Nacua? How'd you find Byron Young? Like, how do you do that? Because I'm good at my job. And if Joe Shane thinks he's good at his job, he would do that. But first round picks on first round pick. But it is what it is. But then we keep going down, Monte. Pick 4, Marvin Harrison, of course. And then here, I'm not gonna lie to you. I thought they were gonna go receiver with the Chargers because they traded everybody.
Yeah,
they got rid of everyone, and they only have Quentin Johnson. I'm like, really, Quentin Johnson, Josh Palmer? Sure. So I thought they were gonna go Malik Neighbors. I was like, oh, and then they're like, oh, Joe Alt is the pick. I'm like, okay. They also need offensive linemen, which is a good point. And then Malik was right there. Malik Neighbors, good pick, great player, big fan of him. Blitnikoff winner. Back-to-back years we drafted Blitnikoff winner. Jalen Hyatt last year, Malik Neighbors this year. Forget let's forget the stuff surrounding the pick. The player that we picked. Good, bad, great. What are we thinking?
So fantastic player. First, he actually didn't get the Blitnikoff. He should have. Marvin Harrison ended up getting it. But
that's true. That's true.
But Malik Neighbors should have got it. He was the best. He was the best wide receiver in the country, and he got
That's
robbed.
why my mind went there, because because I remember saying he got robbed.
He got robbed. He was the best wide receiver in the country. And I'll say this. I said this going into the season about how high I felt about Malik Neighbors could be. And I went into this year and I said it would not surprise me if he was better than any wide receiver in the last 2 draft classes. If he was better than, Jackson Smith, Majigba, Jordan Addison, better than Garrett Wilson, better than Drake London. And I still feel that way. I feel he did reach that. I feel like he's better than all 4 of those guys. I feel like he is somewhere probably in between like a Jamar Chase and like a Jalen Waddle, like that caliber of player.
I'm down with that.
I think Malik Neighbors is a fantastic football player. It was very close between him and Rome Odunze for me, though. I actually, I did have Malik Neighbors slightly higher than Rome Odunze, like the way I rank them. But I did think Rome Odunze was a little bit of a safer of a player. He had like such a solid makeup. Like I couldn't see him doing anything other than just coming in here and working his ass off. And he also was, he's that other part where I kind of liked him is he had that 6'3" body. And I do think that Malik Neighbors more the modern NFL prototype. I think when you look at like the Odells, the DJ
Mm-hmm.
Moore's, the Garrett Wilsons. You can go on and on.
Yeah.
That's more of an NFL prototype. But these 6'3" guys are becoming rarer and rarer. So part of me was like, if you can like match a top talent with a prototype that's just not as common as it used to be,
Yes.
I kind of liked it. But with that said, like I said, Malik Neighbors was rated higher. And I'll also say this, the fact that we didn't get our quarterback, Malik Neighbors is the guy you want if you're going to have like a lower tier QB like Daniel Jones, because what the thing is, if you have a guy like Roma Dunze, you're going to have to be trying to throw that into a tight window and trusting Roma Dunze is going to make that catch you. Not to say that like Roma Dunze is a great route runner, but
Mm-hmm.
he is not a guy like Malik Neighbors, where you can hit Malik Neighbors on a slant route and he can take that ball to the house, very much like we used to see with Odell Beckham Jr. He is very much, this is
Music
very
to my
great
ears,
after the
Monte.
catch. He's
Music to my
explosive.
ears.
Yeah, and he will, and you just give him that ball and he can house call it. And so when you're lacking quarterback talent, I would prefer a guy like Malik Neighbors who can be your offense without having to, the quarterback finding him open.
So he's a better, like a more fluid route runner, a more established route runner than Roma Dunze, who's more of like a deep threat with the catch radius.
I would say I'd say Roma Dunze is a more nuanced route runner. I'd say
Mm-hmm.
he's a cleaner route runner, but I would say Malik Neighbors' athleticism makes him more of a separator and a more special route runner. The thing about Malik Neighbors is when you watch him, he doesn't lose speed in his cuts and when he moves. He's running the same speed. It's very Antonio Brown-esque. That's kind of how he
Mm-hmm.
used to win. Antonio Brown wasn't even the most athletic like tester in the world. But the thing is, when he would make a cut, he would lose zero speed. He would run everything at the same speed, and that's how Malik Neighbors is. He can change direction fluidly, and that although he can still, which is a good thing, he can still get better as a route runner.
Mm-hmm.
Roma Dunze is a better route runner. He's not a bad Malik Neighbors is not a bad route runner by any means, but he can still improve. But his athleticism sets such a baseline for how good he can be as a route runner.
Mm-hmm. So I think I saw on Twitter. I think it was Mace. I think it was Mace. Shout out to Mace. I've shouted out Mace more than once on the show. Where he says Malik Neighbors predominantly operates in the slot at LSU. I watched a couple of LSU games, but I didn't really focus on LSU. I was watching a lot of Pac-12 this year. I'm not gonna lie to you. I watched a lot of Pac-12
Yeah,
like I
it was a
usually do.
great year to watch
Yeah.
Pac-12.
So I kind of neglected the SEC, which it happens.
Mhm.
Like Brian Thomas was the out guy, and then Malik was the slot guy, and how that affects Wandell Robinson. Can Malik Neighbors play outside, or is he like feel more comfortable, more successful on the inside in the slot? With unfortunately, that's going to be a detriment to Wandell. Is that something we got to worry about with them?
So this is what I'll say about Malik Neighbors. I actually had this discussion with Authentic about that today.
Mhm.
Shout out Authentic, but he has very much played both areas. He played inside outside. It was I'm going to try to pull it up for you and get the exact percentage. Yeah, 323 reps in the slot, 335 out wide. So it was almost like a dead 50-50.
Gotcha.
And he same thing. And I'll even pull up 2022 because I think he was more outside 2022. Yeah, 345 wide in 2022, 200 in the slot. So he leans more outside, but he does work a lot of slot. He had the most slot yards in the entire country this year. He's a very good slot player, but in the NFL, ultimately, he will be a predominantly outside receiver, I believe. I don't know if he'll be more of the X or the Z, or if he's going to be directly on the line, or if he's going to play off it a little bit. And in
Mhm.
that case, I don't know what we'll do with Jalen High. It's tough, but I do think he can be an X guy. I do really do. He's that talented a player. The issue with drafting Malik Neighbors and having Wandale Robinson, to me, is not a Malik Neighbors problem.
Mm.
Most of these guys have, Roma Dunze plays inside outside.
Mhm.
You can see a little bit with Marvin Harrison does a little bit of that too, not as much, but still, a lot of these guys have inside outside versatility. This is a Wandale Robinson issue, which is fine. I like Wandale Robinson. He's a very good football player, and I'm looking forward to him. But one of my issues always has been with Wandale Robinson is that he's slot only. And that's not a Malik Neighbors issue. That's a Wan'Dale Robinson issue, because when Malik Neighbors goes into the slot, you can't have Wan'Dale Robinson on the football field. And that's just, no matter who we draft, that's going to be the case. I mean, even, Jalen Hyatt, he played some slot last year. And when he's on the field, Wan'Dale Robinson typically comes off the field, at least when he moves in the slot. So it's going to be an issue with Wan'Dale Robinson unless he can give us some outside versatility. And with his size, I just don't see it. But he's a good football player.
Yeah, absolutely. I was a big fan of the pick. Initially, I was like, what? And then I looked him up and I was like, this man had over 100 catches and over 12,000 yards in the SEC at 5'8".
Yeah, with Will Levis trying to kill that man, throwing him hospital balls.
Exactly. I'm like, you know what? I think this is a good pick. All right, I take back my comment. So yeah, because a lot of people wanted George Pickens or someone else. I'm like, I'm okay with this because it's the draft. Either you hit or you don't hit. Nobody hits all the time, so it is what it is. So the big thing, Monty, that really threw me off is in the first 12, 6 quarterbacks, six quarterbacks in the first round makes sense to me because it has happened more than once in the modern era, because it happens a lot actually. 5 or 4, it's usually 5, but 6, yeah, I'm fine with it. But 6 in the first 12 kind of took me by surprise.
Yeah.
Did it take you also by surprise? So I'm like, because usually I'm okay with 6, but 3 are usually in the top 12, and 3 are usually in the middle to the back end. I remember the Sam Darnold draft where it was Rosen, Darnold, Allen, and then Lamar then was in the was at 32. So those 4, and then it made sense to me. So 6 in the first 12. Were you like, yeah, I expected this, or you were like, okay, really? Oh wow, all right. What were we feeling?
A little bit of both. I ultimately think I was surprised that it happened, but I wasn't it's not something that I thought was crazy to happen. I just didn't think it would, looking at history, I didn't think it would happen. I mean, you look at, there's only been 6, the record is 6 quarterbacks in the first round. That goes back to 1984 or something. That was with the Elway, Marino, Kelly draft.
Yeah.
And there really isn't any examples of it. I thought maybe it could happen. I thought it would be a team trading back in. But with that said, I thought it was possible. I just didn't think it would play out, because when you look at the teams, you look at that quarterback alley that they had there. I mean, we didn't even get to the Raiders, the Saints, teams that could have taken the Rams, supposedly Les Snead. He played college ball with Bo Nix's dad. Bo Nix is a great scheme fit for that offense. This is what I said. I thought one would fall. I thought it'd be Bo Nix or Michael Penix. Michael Penix is the injury stuff. Bo Nix, because he lacks some of that ceiling. But Bo Nix is such a fit for a lot of these modern offenses. He fits that Broncos offense great. He fits these West Coast, like the Rams offense, great. He would have fit the Vikings, things along those lines. So it didn't surprise me totally. You saw Peter Schrager and I believe it was Brugler, Albert Breer. I don't remember who said it. Yeah, somebody else said that they thought that 6 quarterbacks go in the top half of the draft. So that was out there. Did I actually think it would end up happening? Maybe, but I didn't think it would be top 12. I'll say that's what surprised me. I thought it would be JJ goes with the top 4 and the top 10, and then maybe we see Nix and Penix, Nix to the Broncos, and Penix to the Raiders. That wouldn't have surprised me. I'll say that. The way it played out did surprise me, especially Penix going over JJ. That one surprised me.
Yeah, Atlanta at 8, right? So here's the thing that I always tell people on Twitter who be mock GMs, and then people respond to them and say, "You're not a GM. You don't know nothing. Stop. You a fan. Shut up." You can respond with this. I may not know what I'm doing, but these GMs don't know what they're doing. And then someone says, well, how do you know that? They keep giving Kirk Cousins $100 million every offseason, and he keeps letting them down every season. He's my favorite player of all time, the ultimate finesser. This man has been given $200 million to never win anything meaningful ever. The man has one playoff win. He's like 1 in 20 in primetime games. He is the greatest NFL player of all time with that bank account. So you shout out to Kirk Cousins. So you pay this man $180 million, Atlanta, and then in the draft you draft his heir apparent, who's 24. So by the end of the Kirk Cousins deal, he's 30.
Yeah,
I don't like Mina Kimes. Dan Orlovsky, I think today on First Take was trying to be I didn't get it. Then I fell asleep. Then now I get it. But the mini comes like, I still don't get it. And I'm with Mina Kimes. I still don't get it. Like, I don't get it. Like, what's the point? Like, this isn't fantasy football, and you're not like a lot of people like. There's no super flex position, homie. You can't play two quarterbacks. That's not how this works.
Yeah, man.
I was confused. What about you, Monte?
I didn't see it coming. We heard it. We heard about it, and I just assumed that meant, hey, if Michael Penix gets to the second round, we really like him, so like we'll take that shot. But yeah, man. I mean, look, they're basically locked into Kirk Cousins for 3 years. That's basically 3 years until they have an out, unless they want to lose money cutting him. I like Michael Penix. There's some people I really respect who are really high. I mean, my co-host, Sal, shout out Queens_guy on Twitter. He
not the content creator. He doesn't create.
Yeah, not a content creator.
Not a content creator.
He loved Michael Penix. We had Matt Waldman on our show. He's like one of the best in the business for doing scouting, and Michael Penix was his number one quarterback. So like people like Penix. I was a little bit lower in those guys, but I did like him. So if you have conviction in a guy, awesome, but it just didn't seem to line up at all with the timeline with the Falcons. I will say this though. One thing I did like. I liked how they said it. I liked their logic is once we have Kirk Cousins, we don't ever expect to be picking this high again. So we wanted to capitalize and get our quarterback while we were picking this high. So I did respect that logic that they gave.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense in my opinion. Yeah. But then, like, you were already picking this high before free agency.
Yeah.
Why did you pay Kirk Cousins money anyway?
Yeah. No.
But because you. Fair. Yeah, that's my counterbalance to Terry. It's like, Terry, you knew you were picking 8 before free agency, and you shelled out over $850 million for Kurt. You could have used that money somewhere else to help your rookie quarterback you're gonna draft. Yeah. And nowadays, rookie quarterbacks, there's no longer the, Patrick Mahomes being the exception. There's no longer you're not waiting a year. You're playing, like you're playing, homie. And with Atlanta, contrary to popular belief, they got tools.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I mean, they've been spending 8th overall picks on these guys. They got Drake London 8th overall. They got Bijan Robinson 8th overall. They got Kyle Pitts 3rd overall. Like they've been spending on it 4th. They've been spending on an offense.
Yeah. And I'm just like, they're hired to make these decisions. I'm just a fan, but sometimes I'm like, I don't think you know what you're doing. And I'm just saying, I don't think you know what you're doing. So also too, Monte, I think my co-host, my other shows, Adelia, she's a Broncos fan, and you've kind of probably alleviated some Bo Nix apprehension because he was I'm a massive Oregon Ducks fan, so I watch Bo Nix weekly every week, and he played phenomenal every week. We did lose to Washington 3 straight, I think 2 straight times, but that was because they were overly aggressive, and Dan Elling was like, I'm gonna win the game, and bit him in the derriere. And if a coach that wants to win the game, you lose it by trying to win it, I'm not mad at you.
Yeah.
So that's why Michael Penix is undefeated against them that year. So also too, Michael Penix, I watched, like I said, I watched a lot of Pac-12 football. He was at certain points, the best quarterback in the conference when they had Caleb Williams. The reason
Caleb the Texas game.
Yeah, the Texas game. Just the 2 games against Oregon, where Oregon had the best defense in the league, and he, was like, yeah, I know we down 10, but we ain't out, and we gonna come back. He showed a lot of resolve, a lot of good mentals. He did have Rome Odunze, so he used his weapons to his tool. Jalen Polk or Jalen McMillan are probably gonna get drafted, in the 2nd or 3rd rounds. I think they're probably day 2 picks in my opinion. I quite enjoy them, but some people are like they're day 3s, round 4, which is fine. I'm not, I don't do this for a living. That's why I defer to my main man Monte, who is a grinder.
Yeah.
You know what you are, Monte. You and Sal, you know what y'all are. You guys are Ron Jaworski to me, where you guys bend space and time to watch 85,000 hours of film. And you're like, you know what, Ron, I don't believe that you did that, but I do believe you did that because you're a psychopath. And that's what I think you two are. That's what I think you two are.
Yeah, man.
Any other surprises in the first round that kind of took you out? The Raiders going tight end. They kind of just went best player available at that moment. I'm a big fan of Brock Bowers. I think Brock Bowers is the best player on Georgia for his entire career there, from freshman to junior year. Great player. Solid pick by them in a sense, but should they have drafted it? Because they needed other things. That's the one thing that always made the Raiders. The Raiders are gonna Raider. Is that what? That's what I thought. What about you, Monte?
Yeah, I mean, just to speak to Brock Bowers, I mean, me and Sal did a big board. He was 4th on our big board, so like very high up there. But with that said, he's a tight end, and the tight end position is tough because look, there's two sides to this. I truly think if Brock Bowers ends up being like an elite level, like Travis Kelce, George Kittle level tight end, I think that's one of the most valuable like things to have in football, because you're getting a wide receiver one that you're paying half the price to, and you have ability to help you in the run game. Like it's a cheat code if you find one of those guys. The issue is, first of all, these guys have not hit well in these drafts so far. A lot of first round tight ends have not hit, and the difference between like the 3rd best tight end in football and the 5th best tight end in football is like night and day. Like like one is just like an average player, and the other one is like, it's a superstar difference maker. You're looking at the difference between trying to like a Dallas Goedert and a Travis Kelce. Those guys are night and day. Like Dallas Goedert's a good player, but he's not worth a top 10 pick. Travis Kelce is worth a top 10 pick every time. So I thought it was a good pick. I thought it was a risky pick, but the biggest head scratcher was that they picked Michael Mayer last year, who's a very good football player. So I don't know what the plan is there.
And last year was the tight end draft, where some people were saying like, yo, we have like 6 tight ends that are like 1st and 2nd round picks that you can get. It was Michael Mayer, the guy from
Sam Laporta,
Luke Musgrave,
Darnell Washington,
Dalton Kincaid. It was like a bunch of them. And it was crazy about the Luke Musgrave pick for the Packers is he gets injured and they don't miss him because they had an undrafted free agent in Tucker Kraft from South Dakota State.
No. They spent a very high pick on Tyler Kraft, which was very confusing to me.
Okay.
Let me see what it was.
So I was lied to then. So, some of these people in the media don't know what the hell they were talking about because they called them undrafted. I swear I was watching a pregame, Joe, and they said undrafted, and I was like, that's a great find.
I see that shit all the time when they make those type of mistakes. But no, he was a 3rd round pick. They put
makes sense.
In the 2nd and Kraft in the 3rd. So that was weird to me too.
Yeah, they doubled up on tight ends. Well, in the end, it kind of made sense because
it was a good
you had to continue. You didn't really miss him. And then they crushed the Cowboys in the playoffs.
They capitalized on value.
Exactly. So so it goes on. We then like when it hit 14, we actually started from 11. We go on like a lineman run, defense and offensive lineman. Started with Oluwu Fashanu going to the Jets. I just completely butchered that brother's name.
Just call Olu Fashanu.
Olu Fashanu, and
don't
then
need to play with the rest of the name.
Exactly. And then you go the Saints, Talisi Fuaga from Oregon State, and then Latu from UCLA, the edge, and then Byron Murphy.
He was my edge one.
Yeah, and then Byron Murphy, the D tackle from Texas. My co-host is a big fan of the Texas Longhorns. Dallas Turner from the Minnesota, and then Amarius Mims out of Georgia, Jared Verse, Troy Fatanu, Chop Robinson, and then we had like a couple of corners and a receiver and Brian Thomas Jr., Quinyon Mitchell, and Terrion Arnold. And then back end, you have more linemen, Jordan Morgan, Graham Barton, Darius Robinson, and then again, I don't know why Buffalo keeps doing this. They need to stop doing this. They need to stop trading with the Chiefs because the Chiefs end up drafting someone who's going to make their life a living hell for the next 10 years because they did it with Patrick Mahomes and they did it with Xavier Worthy. I don't know what the hell's wrong with them. They need to stop. Yep. They need to stop. If you see Buffalo, look at me right in my eyes, Buffalo. Brandon Bean, if you see a phone call and the area code says Kansas City on it on draft night, you don't pick up the phone. You do not pick up the phone, and you got to stop picking up the goddamn phone, in my opinion. And then at the end, we get to Tyler Guyton, and then all my Baltimore Ravens fans, homies, they drafted Nate Wiggins. Some weren't happy because they didn't want a corner because they don't need corner. They need offensive lineman and receiver. And then Niners got Ricky Pearsall, and Carolina got Xavier Legette, who I want to be successful so goddamn much. So reporters have to decipher what he just said after a game. I want that to make sense because that man is Boomhauer to an extent. I love him. I love him. I love him so much. I love him. And it's like not football related reasons. So the run on lineman, did you see this coming? The run on lineman, Monte, because like quarterbacks, there were 6 quarterbacks drafted, and I think there was like 6 or 7 linemen, offensive linemen only. 6 of them, I think, were drafted, and then you add in the edges. I think it goes up to 10. I think. Let me recount. I didn't recount when I was going through it, but yes, this offensive lineman class.
Incredible.
How many first round grades did you have for them?
Let's look. I have it. So let's see. So blue chip guys, we had 2. It was Joel and Olu Fashanu. Then first round guys, we had Troy Fontenot. We had Talisi Fuaga, Amarius Mims, JC Latham. So, and then Jackson Power Johnson we had. So 7 first rounds, and then we had our first/second round guys that are order line. We had Graham Barton, so that's 8. Tyler Guyton 9, Zach Frazier 10. So 10 to first to second at the very least.
Okay. Yeah, so this was kind of like it was a good run. So Tyler Guyton, this is for my co-host Caleb for the Cowboys. They drafted Tyler Guyton. They needed offensive lineman because Tyron Smith's no longer a Cowboy. He's in New York. He's a Jet. They're probably gonna bump in Tyler Smith, the guard. Tyler Guyton playing left tackle. What were your initial thoughts of him out of Oklahoma, and where do you project him to be? Is he a high-end starter? Is he a service pole swing tackle? Like, where are we going with Tyler Guyton?
So Tyler Guyton's he's a projection. He's a very, very good athlete. He's a big guy, former tight end. Like this guy when you watch him, he moves extremely well. You can see the upside there. I was terrified of taking a guy like Tyler Guyton because we just ruin guys like this. But, if the Cowboys, who have had a good offensive line consistently, trust to develop them, then I feel good. I actually had the Cowboys taking Tyler Guyton in my first round mock draft. He's from like 30 miles south of Dallas. They Jerry Jones loves his Oklahoma guys. So I think it was a good pick for him. Athletically, you can look at guys like, Oklahoma keeps putting these guys out. You see Lane Johnson, who's the guy, 49ers, best tackle in the league. Who's the 49ers tackle? Trent Williams, Lane Johnson. Like athletically, he compares to those guys. But when I watch him, he needs a lot of work. I see him make some big mistakes and get absolutely killed on certain reps. So
hands, mostly technique,
things along those lines.
Does he overstretch when he falls back into his pedal?
Sometimes he does that for sure. Okay. But if you can refine this guy, he can be a really good player. I mean, and I am for betting on athleticism of the offensive line. I do feel strongly about that. I think it was a good pick. And I think Tyler Smith is best off at guard. I think he's a really, really good guard. I think he can play tackle, but I think you have like an all-pro level guard if you keep him there. So I think it was a good pick by the Dallas Cowboys, unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately. And then Tyler Smith also can get away with a little bit of holding when he's playing a guard. So good for him.
Yeah.
I'm watching you, Tyler Smith. I'm watching you. Holder, I got you all night. So Monte, in the sense, we kind of like went through the first round. with the Malik Neighbors thing, I was in your space earlier. I was
Mhm.
listening, and someone's, I don't know who said this line, but it was I think one of the best lines I've heard in a minute, where he says Malik Neighbors is a dog. I'm like, yeah,
Mhm.
he's a dog, yeah, and he's like, then he says, don't be afraid when dogs bite. I'm like, yeah, you don't be afraid because dogs do bite, and they're kind of projecting that, like, you know, Daniel Jones is his quarterback. Can he, like when he's screaming at him, like, is it his fault? Because I think either you or Sal told a story where him and Keyshawn Butte almost like killed Jaden Daniels or something. Like after Florida State, when they were being blown out, and because they didn't like being blown out by Florida State, and I love those players, right? Because they show that they care. They want to win. You don't want people okay with losing, and that's why I think John Mara is okay with. I've had big issues with John Mara, in my opinion, because I feel like, he is a meddler, and sometimes he doesn't meddle in certain stuff, but then with stuff he like. So you can't keep telling me that Joe Shane plays hardball with every single giant coming up for a contract, and I'm hearing these stories of how he's a hardball negotiator, and then when he's negotiating with Daniel Jones gets everything he wants. Like, you can't tell me one story, or like, which story is real. Either he got bent over and Daniel Jones got what he wanted, or he's this hardball negotiator that basically called Saquon's bluff and said, "We don't know. I'm not giving you the contract you want." Who is he? Who is he?
Yeah.
Like, who's Joe Shane? Authentic shared some old videos of him being extremely like I've started realizing he doesn't lie like he should. Like, GMs
Yeah.
lie. He should lie more. Where he kind of like said, if you were paying attention, he's not going quarterback. And I'm like, oh snap! That I didn't notice that. Like, and you start realizing. So who's Joe Shane? Is he the guy who said, "Yeah, I know I messed up by letting Saquon and Xavier McKinney walk, but I'm also the guy that got you Brian Burns"? So who are
Mhm.
you, dude?
Yeah.
I don't know who he is. Do you know who he is? Because I'm still confused on who he is, Monte.
I don't know, man. I
Yeah.
mean, I know a lot of people want to give him the benefit of the doubt that he was kind of forced his hand into paying Daniel Jones, but they doubled down on him. I know they tried to make that trade up for Drake May, and I know that's cool, and then that definitely shows some doubt they have in him. But
Mhm.
they said that they expect Daniel Jones to be a starter. They drafted another weapon for him, and they didn't get any real competition from free agent. They had Drew Lock, so look, to me, they're showing loud and clear with their actions that Daniel Jones is their guy. Joe Shane has done some good things when he's here, but I question what he's done with the quarterback, and that's my biggest question with him, because to me, when you hire a guy like Brian Dable to come in here and known for his quarterback development, we're going to year 3, and we'll see. I hope we don't draft a quarterback today, because that's another discussion. But I really don't like who's left out there.
Who is
But
left out there?
Spencer Rattler, Michael
Oh yeah,
Pratt.
yeah, yeah.
I'm not
Okay,
a
yeah,
huge fan personally.
yeah. Okay, I got you. I got you. Yeah.
But they haven't taken a swing on the quarterback at all. And you know, all I'll say is, if this Brian Dable tenure ends without giving him a rookie quarterback, I think that's going to be the biggest disappointment of the entire tenure.
Yeah,
And
because I
on
think
Joe
if
Shane.
no, no, I'm with you, and I feel like he's gonna go become an OC for like a year again, and then he's gonna get hired again because people are gonna realize, they didn't give him his quarterback. You know what I mean? Like, it
Yep.
happens all the time. It's like what happened with Gary Kubiak in Houston. He went,
Yep.
he was Gary Kubiak. He won a lot of games with Matt Schaub. Houston then fired him. He spent 1 year with Baltimore, and then he leaves. And he guess what happens? He goes to Denver, and he wins a Super Bowl with a broken Peyton Manning and a Brock Osweiler. And then,
Yep.
we all know what happened against Brock. Shout out to Brock Osweiler. Hey, Brock Osweiler was pretty good as a color commentator for some of those college games. Shout out to you, Brock.
Hmm.
You know,
There you
you know,
go.
you should have played basketball, but I digress. That you're 6'8", mother lover. Jesus Christ, that man was tall. He's tall, like Jesus, tall as hell. So
Yeah.
Monty, second round's coming up. we're pick 47. I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
use the last about like because the draft's about to start in like about like 20 minutes.
Yep.
I'm hearing offensive line
Mm-hmm.
because they're trying to protect Daniel Jones. Is there another position they could go that wouldn't shock you?
Yeah. I mean, to me, I have no problem with going offensive line. I think that's a
Okay.
good move. But I think it's a good offensive line class. We went over that.
Mhm.
And even though a lot of them didn't go high, so I don't know what's gonna be left there. But I will say that to me, we should continue to build on the strength of this team. And to me, the strength of this team is the defense. And I would love to continue to build there. I think there's good cornerbacks left. I don't know if
Mhm.
a Cooper DeJean or a Cooley McKinstry make it to us. Probably not. Maybe to
Mhm.
39, the pick we had. Probably could have got
Yeah.
a good player there, but that's in our story. I'm happy with Brian Burns. That's irrelevant. But the other one, another good player, really left. I don't think we'll get, but Johnny Newton. He was number 14 on me and Sal's big board. We love
Yep.
this kid. He's still available, but I don't think he'll be there. But in general, interior defensive line is another spot where I think we could attack. A guy to keep an eye on, and I don't think we'll take him at 47, maybe 70, maybe if we trade down from 47, because I would love to trade down and get some more draft picks. Brandon, you're an Oregon fan, right? Did you say you're an Oregon fan? I think it froze. But regardless,
Brandon
Brandon,
Dorless.
yes,
Brandon
Brandon,
Dorless. I froze. My bad, Monty. That's my fault.
you're good.
Yeah, Brandon Dorless. I know. Yeah. Yep. I
Yep,
know Brandon
Brandon
Dorless.
Dorless out of Oregon. Brandon
Yeah.
Dorless, the guy I love, he would play perfectly into that Leonard Williams role that's left open here, being kind of that 3-4 defensive end. He's a guy who, Matt Miller from ESPN comped him to Danico Autry, who was a guy who
Yes.
had 13 sacks under Shane Bowen, our defensive coordinator last year. Daniel Jeremiah, no, he comped him to Justin Matabuki, the guy from the Ravens who just got
Yep.
paid big money. If you look at their numbers, I was saying this in the space, very, very similar physical numbers. He's a guy who gets a ton of pressure, gets good pushback with his hands. I think you could trade back from 47 and get Brandon Dorless, and that would be an incredible pick. There's also good corners. You got a guy like Mike Sanders still. How often do I advocate to take a nickel corner in the second round? Mike Sanders still is a guy I'd advocate for. Mike Sanders still is a very, very special player. I'm a big fan of Kamari Lassiter from Georgia. I wouldn't be against that. I think he's a very technically sound corner. So cornerback, interior defensive line, those are two spots. And even, I'm a big fan of Tyler Nubin. If they took Tyler Nubin, he's a safety out of Minnesota. I wouldn't be mad about that either.
Yeah, because you see still a lot of holes on the defense in a sense. Defensive line, the edges, I think they're pretty set for the next, probably next 5 to 7 years. And in my opinion, in Tibbs and Brian, you got your quarterback 1. You do need a cornerback 2. We haven't had a cornerback 2 since Aaron Ross, in my opinion.
Well, we had cornerback. I mean, we had some older guys. We had Adoree Jackson with James Bradbury is pretty solid.
Yeah.
We
I'm
had
like a young, like one that we're like,
young.
yeah, we're cool. Like I know we got like a couple of that came in, like I believe
like DRC.
Yeah, DRC. Like I remember DRC, but DRC was like 33 when we got him, and he's like spent like
he was older.
Yeah, he was older. So like I'm talking about like a good 1-2 punch, like young. It was like Ross and Webster. You know what I mean? Like them,
Terrell
like Thomas. And then same thing with safety. We let Xavier McKinney walk, right? And fans of the show have realized like there's been moments where I like Dane Belton, but there are moments where I was extremely critical of him because there are certain moments in games where we lost the game because he made a mistake, in my opinion. Because I remember the Jets. Oh my God, that wasn't even a game. Okay, that Jets rain whatever, where Garrett Wilson has this great catch, where corners on Garrett Wilson's back, you have safety above Garrett Wilson. Dane Belton isn't guarding anybody, so it's just like he's like just grass. And growing up, I played linebacker growing up. They tell me like if no one's in your zone, if you're just guarding grass, what you do is you get depth. And Dane Belton didn't get depth. It's because if he got depth, he could have been in front of Garrett Wilson, and it would have been an interception right there. And it would have been and he's had these little moments. So safety, Tyler Nubin, I'm with you on that. And So yeah, I'm with you on that, Monte. I'm really honestly, man, I just want a good at the end of the day. I just want to
Yeah.
turn on my Sundays and at the end of 3 hours not say, you know what, I hate the world. Right? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like that's all a brother wants, Monte. Am I asking for too much?
You shouldn't be. You shouldn't
Yeah.
be asking for too much,
Yeah.
but apparently you are.
Yeah, apparently I am. A competent run franchise and someone that, I'm okay with losing. I just don't want to get like, disheartened. Because
I'll
losing happens in the NFL. But like, yeah,
I'll
some of
say
the losses, man.
I'll say this. That I'll give you a little positive here
Okay.
is, if Malik Neighbors is as good as we hope he is, during those Odell Beckham years even when we were bad, and even
Yeah.
when our quarterback looked like shit, no disrespect to Eli, but he was getting old.
He
He
was like
made
40.
the Giants fun.
Yeah, you did. You know what, Monte? Thank you. I appreciate you for that one, man. Appreciate you for that one. So, Monte, man, I wanna, we're about to wrap it up. I want to tell people where they can find you, man. The great content you make. One half of the He's a Giant podcast. Tell them people where they can like and subscribe, my man.
Yeah, man. So you'll see anybody who's watching here, you can see my at right here at Monte Cristo. So it's MONTECRI5TO. I'm one half of He's a Giant Pod. You can find us at He's a Giant Pod on Twitter. He's a Giant on YouTube. We're also on Spotify.
Mhm.
We're on Apple, and basically we do an NFL draft podcast. It's year-round NFL draft coverage, college football, all that centric to the Giants, but any other listeners, Cowboys, a lot of it is more pick and choose. Sometimes we'll have a rebuilding the Giants episode. Sometimes we'll have top 5 quarterbacks in this class. So, you can definitely find episodes there that will fit you guys if you just want, early football coverage, because we'll be talking about that all year, get an idea of some of the positions that might be a good fit for your team coming up. So yeah, we'd love to have you guys check us out. We welcome any listeners from any fan base.
All right, man. It's perfect, man, guys. Y'all know me. My name is Ferris Malone. You can find me at Ferris Malone every Friday, 3 o'clock. Good Friends, Better Rivals on the Let's Get Ready Network, as well as every Friday, 8 o'clock on our other channel, Let's Get Ready Network Entertainment. I'll be having my main man, Nerd Chronic, where we're going to talk about his passion for editing, his new podcast, and his new venture. So you can find me Fridays is with Ferris. That's all I got to say. Spend your Fridays with Ferris, because I'm not going to lie to you, I'm a great hang. Yeah, I'm extremely confident in myself. Yeah, I said it. I am, because I asked a lot of questions and I'm actually interested in what people are talking about. But without further ado, everyone, thank you so much for joining us. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We're trying to get to 150. I believe we're at 140 something. Let me double check. Because last time I got it wrong, because I thought we weren't at 900, but we were at 900. So let me double check before someone yells at me. Yes, we're at 135. Trying to get to 150. Just 15 subscribers. Share it, with your brothers, your sisters, your mothers, your dads, your grandmas, your grandpas, because everyone loves football. And I hope you guys enjoy this. Shout out to my main man, Monte. Monte, man, I've been wanting to get you on my show because I got mad respect for you. I got mad love for what y'all do. And I hope this is, in the great words of Casablanca, it's the beginning of a beautiful friendship. Let's keep it rolling. So on that note, everyone,
I
stay
appreciate
safe.
you having me on.
Hey, man, I appreciate you. Stay safe, stay calm. We'll see y'all next week. Peace.
Peace.